Finally the time has come to show my devotion to Ulrich. This host clearly wishes to mock us, to make us feel fear, to make us feel like the odds are too much and we can do nothing but die on our feet. Well, so what? If death is what Ulrich demands this day, then he shall have it. But I shall not go meekly into the dark. I shall raise my weapon and scream Ulrich's name as I cleave these fiends asunder. I shall fight for my friends. I shall fight for my brother and sister and father and for Middenheim. I shall fight for Ulrich and the heroes of Middenheim. Whatever else comes next, let it be damned. For Ulrich, for the city of the White Wolf. This is Red Moon role-playing. The air is filled with the sounds of battle as the heroes of Middenheim and their entourage engage in pure unbridled combat. After a certain point, Heinrich Schilf, there is no longer any strategy, no longer any valor, simply survival. Your foe are not squealing rat-men or tricksy goblins or even mortal cultists. They are demons, slavering, chuckling, laughing, but there's no sense to the laughter or the chuckling, no sense to some of the noises they make. Strange, pink, multi-armed beings assail themselves upon you, while the darkness is occasionally lit up by eldritch fire that comes forth from strange, thin creatures which spout said fire from their hands and mouths. It is chaos, truly. But you must succeed. All of you are aware that there is no turning back. You either reach that hammer, or you die. And so, this battle will be represented by one extended test. You must all make a roll. You must all do your best to represent what you do in this mad melee, desperately trying simply to get forwards to reach that hammer. And depending on your success levels, we will see how you do. Failure will have consequences, but will not necessarily mean instant death. But it will have consequences. Let us start with Heinrich Schilf. In this melee, what do you do?
Well, my best roll happens to be the thing that I would immediately leap to in terms of actions. There are demons between me and the Hammer of Sigmar, and I will cleave them with my rapier until I get a chance to smash them with a hammer.
Indeed you shall, and so you lead the way as you've always known, through violence. Now, this is a hard fight, -20 to the roll. However, due to your rallying of the troops, you can bring it up to a -10, as you do have backup in formation. So please make a weapon skill roll at a -10. Or a ranged weapon skill roll, actually, your choice.
No, I don't think I've reloaded the pistol. That is a 60 under my weapon skill rapier, which is also a 60 with a penalty, so right on the button.
You fight as hard as you ever have. And as always, you are skilled at avoiding harm, skilled at avoiding true danger unless you need to. But you have to admit, you're beginning to tire. This isn't as definitive as you'd like, Heinrich. This is close. These foes, you cut down these nightmarish purple beings and they split. You've seen this before. These horrors split into two, and then split again. Finally, they do go down, their bodies turning into strange vapors and disintegrating shortly after their deaths, but not before they spill blue ichorish blood everywhere. But this is hard. You are fighting for your very life. How are you feeling, Heinrich? Are you starting to feel the pressure? Or are you sure that at least the others will get through? Someone will get through.
I have to fight for them. And perhaps that is why it is not as successful as I want it to be, because rather than trusting in the knight to my left or the priest to my right to be able to handle the demon that splits from 1 to 2, I have to take it all on myself. And it's that level of extra exertion, of protecting those who are nearest me. More important, trusting in my own abilities rather than forcing anyone else to carry that burden, is what makes it so difficult to stay on my feet and moving forward.
Indeed. But you struggle on, holding on as best you can. Kruger Hoffman. Your people are moving forwards. You're making progress. You're getting there. But there's just so many foes. What do you do? How do you try and get through this? Keep in mind, if you do not want to do weapon or ballistic skill, you can use other skills here. You can come up with a different plan. Your choice.
I will try to open up a way for Heinrich, taking out any particularly gruesome-looking enemies that are coming his way, sniping from behind with my crossbow.
So, is that a stealth roll or a ranged attack roll?
I would say a ranged roll.
Then, I will say -10, but due to your attempts to focus your fire and aid Heinrich more than just spread damage, I'll let you have a +10 to this roll.
That is a 59 under 70.
2 levels of success. It's not bad. Not bad. You do your best to support Heinrich with cover fire. You do your best. You take down foes. You fire, reload. You're certainly helping the Vanguard move forwards, but you're aware this still isn't good enough. You're getting very concerned that soon people are going to start falling. You can see a soldier to your left, one of the knights, take a blow to the side, get dragged off for a moment. You see one of the priests intone something before being struck in the head. This isn't going well. This is going badly. You need to do better. Sifreda, the charge is brave. The charge is valiant. But you're starting to slow. You can feel the whole procession is starting to slow. You're getting through, but only barely. And barely isn't enough. What do you try and do with Erica? What do you try and do to salvage the situation?
There is no point my playing to my weaknesses here. There's no point playing the role of combatant. I try and make headway, I try and make sense out of the various bodies sprawled, amassing in the cave ahead, where Heinrich is engaged, where Kruger is getting involved, where all of our companions are potentially about to be ripped asunder, and I could hang back and render medical aid, but there's something I remember. Something that I did only once. And when I did it, it came to great effect. It was using my medical skills on the battlefield, not to heal, but to kill. I am, when it comes down to it, a master surgeon. I know where all the arteries are, and where the blood vessels are at their most vulnerable. But what I need to do is get into the thick of this throng, where I can find a commander, where I can find a charismatic leader, someone who is trying to organise this chaotic rabble. There's always one that's bigger than the rest. And I'm going to need to use Erica to protect me. I'm going to need to rely on them not seeing me, not paying attention to just a humble medic while there are flashing swords and suits of armour clashing. I'm going to need to identify the biggest, the baddest, and then try and rip out an artery.
Well, make a perception check, and you can make this at a +10 due to the assistance of Erica, as you combine your skills and your knowledge, as you said, with your scalpel to see, is there anything you can see that suits this goal of yours?
Yes, a priest, a sorcerer, something of power here. This is a good roll. I managed to get a 10 out of 60.
Ooh. How many success levels is that?
That's 5 success levels.
Well, then, Sifreda, with your 5 success levels, I will give you one more success level, because this was a very interesting idea. You do look forwards, and you notice, slowly approaching from the front, not the sides, the front, there are some individuals. They aren't saying anything, they aren't really moving, but they do move a little, actually, yes. They seem more humanoid than all the other beings. They are clad in armour. Upon this armour are painful sigils that hurt to look at. Eyes, strange blue eyes. They wear dark helms, hiding their faces. One of them seems to be holding some sort of staff. Well, there you go. There's some cursed individual. Cut them down. And please describe to me how you dart out of the safety of the formation to jam your scalpel into this being.
I drop my crossbow, I drop my medical bag, I have my scalpel in one hand, and I have a corrosive agent from our horde of explosives in the other. Luckily, they're making themselves quite vulnerable to putting themselves at the front, and while I'm no master armourer, I do know that armour comes with gaps to allow for movement at the neck, the shoulders, the armpit, the leg. While it would be dramatic to go for the throat, I know that the most vulnerable artery is the one just on the inner thigh. A nice, thick femoral artery. Almost every bipedal creature has one. And so I stay low, and I run forward. My intention being that I will slice this creature between the legs, and if he does not fall, or it does not fall, or if it seems like doom for me, I will smash this acidic grenade in its face, taking the corrosive damage that will undoubtedly follow as it drips on me.
Indeed. And yet, in the fury of battle and the madness of war, it works. Somehow, Sifreda, you didn't know you had it in you. You dart forward with your scalpel, taking down that thigh, causing this being to collapse to the ground. And as it does so, someone else to your side, Baron Reiner Todbringer, just storms forward and smashes this creature in the head with his hammer, and it falls to the ground, and you stand above your foe, and you see its hideous face. Your face. It's you, laughing, smiling as it dies. How does that make you feel, Sifreda?
I am not going to be beaten by this witchery anymore. I know that everything here is a trick designed to torment us and drive us insane. And maybe that is coming for me, but something as simple as a parlour trick, that isn't going to get into my head.
It certainly isn't. Not on that roll. Heinrich Schilf. I am afraid your success levels were the lowest of the three, and so this choice comes to you. You see a surging forward of the troops. You see Sifreda do this daring attack which brings down one of these beings, and you see them too, these warriors of chaos. That must be who these individuals are, marching towards you now, dark halberds raised, twisted helms gazing at you. And then you look to your left and your right. To your left you see Emmeline. To your right, Bertha trying to cast some miracle. And behind both of them you see dark demons about to pounce. Who do you aid?
Well, of course, there's no correct choice, but there's hope of hopes that wherever I do not intervene, that person still has a chance, right? And between the two of them, Emmeline is stronger, has always been more comfortable with steel, and I think that means I have to jump to Berta's aid.
Indeed. Make a weapon skill roll. No penalties.
A 49 under 70.
How many success levels is that?
That'll be 3.
And you dive forwards, and you thrust your weapon through whatever is about to assail Bertha. She blinks, looks at you, grateful. You turn. Time to help Emmeline. Emmeline, you catch eyes with them for a moment. Emmeline is always confident in battle. They give you a smile as they dispatch the foe attacking them. Triumphant. And then Emmeline turns, and some creature from behind them engulfs them in sorcerous blue flame. And with that, Emmeline is gone. That charred, smoking, bubbling corpse on the floor is not there. No, Emmeline is just gone.
Poor is undignified. The pained, rageful scream that erupts out from my lungs. And I will recklessly charge at the creature that has ended my friend.
Indeed. Cries of pain, cries of sorrow, cries of confusion. You look to your left, Kruger. You see one of the priests. You think his name was Brother Ludwig. He tries to shield you suddenly from an assault before some demonic creature simply parts his head from his shoulders. You look to your right. You see a knight fall. You're starting to lose people. You're starting to lose this. And you look and see the hammer, almost within reach. Sifreda, you look up from your victory. You see the madness of battle. You see Apprentice Leah suddenly just trying to do some emergency triage on someone. Erica barking. And you see the hammer, close within reach. You look. Heinrich Schilf. You look down at the foe you've just slain. You look around you. And again you see the hammer just within reach. Any of you can go for this weapon, but I am afraid it will cost you a point of fate. Unless, of course, you order someone else to go in your stead. What do the three of you do?
Well, if I see that we truly are losing this, that we really have to go for the hammer in order to have any kind of chance of victory, and I see my friends being occupied taking down foes, well then I'll just look. Is there a way for me to get there? Can I push my way through this in order to get to the hammer? Then I will do so, burning a point of fate.
Then, Kruger, you run forwards. For a moment, abandoning all sense of safety and well-being. But all is possible when fate is burned. You reach the dais of the hammer. It is the hammer. Of course it is. Beautiful, resplendent, marked with ancient dwarven runes. Everything you always thought it would look like. You reach out for it. Suddenly, a figure knocks you down. Crossbow aimed at your head. One of these soldiers of chaos. Its horrific armor bewitching you with strange runes. A helm with too many eyes. It takes off its helmet for a moment and looks down at you smiling. For it is you, Kruger Hoffman. It smiles and says, "I am your future. Embrace me."
I don't believe my eyes. I don't know what to make of that. If I can, I will just try to grab the hammer.
And you will. And then there is light. As you grab the hammer, the first thing you're aware of, Kruger, is that it is immensely heavy. Too heavy. As you try and grip it by the hilt, you find you cannot. But it doesn't matter, for a great beam of light erupts from it. You are aware somewhere in the distance, something screams, "No! Stop!" But it is too late. The entire cavern floods with a giant font of light. Wind spills out from the hammer. Heinrich Schilf, you see this and you are knocked to the ground by this sudden force, forced to cover your eyes. But there is something reassuring about this light. There is something hopeful. This is not a tool of chaos. This is a tool of Sigma. And you feel that you've done something. Sifreda, could you please make one more willpower roll, please? At a -20.
I fail. I get a 78 over 26.
You look upon this light as it erupts from the hammer from Kruger, fills the whole area, and you know this is the end of you. This is some vile corruption, a light from the deepest hell. You feel sick. You have to scream. This is an abomination. What has Kruger done?
I scream, but it's wordless. It is just I am drenched in this creature's blood, having cut it open at the groin, having passed beneath it as it fell, and then be splattered by its skull and brain and chunks of skin and hair, and now here I am on my knees watching this, hearing this voice. I just scream. It's got to me. I can't. And I scream until I'm hoarse, or until someone stops me.
Indeed you do, as the chamber fills with light and noise and confusion. What are you thinking, Kruger? Is this the end of all things? Is this how you die? Maybe. What are you thinking as the entire world for a moment becomes nothing but holy light?
I feel hope. Hope that perhaps this is the thing that will finally defeat the evil, finally bring peace and justice and goodness to the world. And if I have to die for that to happen, then so be it. It will be a fine way to go.
And then, darkness. Heinrich Schilf, you're lying on the ground. You're not quite sure how long you've been lying here for. Minutes? Hours? Days? You look about you. All around are your friends and your companions, slowly getting themselves off the ground. You see nearby 1 or 2 bodies do not get up. But you see Baron Reiner Todbringer stirring, the priest captain. Perhaps you were concerned about your foes, but you look around and see that there are no foes. You are in a quite small cavern now. It's dark, but your torches light it well enough. And there's not a trace of the horde of creatures you were facing. They're all gone. Nearby, you see your friend Kruger Hoffman stirring before a small pedestal where a hammer lies. What do you do?
I'm watching Kruger as he approaches, with an eye that's just looking to make sure he's sure of his step. I turn immediately looking for Sifreda, whose voice that I can hear, hoarse, rasping painfully. And that's the first thing that will draw me. Because with Kruger has secured the objective. But if Sifreda, if Sifreda's the price we have to pay for that, that's unacceptable to me. So believing that she is either wounded or worse, I'll make the fastest speed possible in that direction.
Then you stumble over to, yes, she was screaming. That was Sifreda screaming. Sifreda, you are tired. You feel a bad taste in your mouth. You think you've been sick. You've healed 1 corruption. But it hurt. It hurt a lot.
So it's fair to say that I find you having fallen to the floor, to your knees. You are obviously not on your feet at this point, right?
I am on my knees, and now my head is down. It's close to the ground. Erica is probably too scared to approach. I am covered in blood. I still have my scalpel in my hand.
Then you'll hear the heavier footpads of Heinrich charging in that direction. And seeing you in this condition, I'll stoop down onto one knee. In another light, it might look like a proposal, but it's certainly not in this case. Reaching out to place one hand over the hand that has the scalpel and just laying it on your wrist, with the other coming to your side, either on your arm or the side of your torso, however it happens to work out. And there's an urgency in my voice as I ask, are you fine? Are you struck? Are you bleeding? And just vomiting up all the possible nouns and verbs that might describe injuries with this, the hint of panic, of genuine concern.
I look at you through tired eyes. In my head, Heinrich, chaos reigns. I need you to get me out of here. I can't look at Kruger lifting that hammer. There's something wrong with me. I need to get out of here.
We will survive, and we will survive together. And I will offer my forearm as a point of leverage to help bring you up to your feet without making you suffer the indignity of being hauled up like a sack of vegetables.
Yeah, I don't need that again. I will lean on your forearm as intended. I will not beckon for Erica to follow. Either she will or she won't, but she's so far from my mind right now that I can't whistle for her.
Erica whines a little, sensing something amiss, but she follows you regardless of your summons. Kruger, Hoffman, you will awaken. Before you, a Warhammer. Quittus Fassbinder comes over looking quite bedraggled, yet somehow not that worse for wear. He simply shakes his head and looks to you. And so it has come to pass. Behold, Gal Maraz, the Warhammer of the Empire, the Warhammer of Sigma. We've done it, my boy. We've done it. You see, it was always fated. Always.
You're right. I suppose we have. And now we can bring peace back to the Empire. Everything will be right again.
Indeed. Of course. This is the way. It was always to be. And we could not have done it without you three. You see, in those last moments it was you. You, Kruger. Ah! And he gives you a firm pat on the back.
No, not me. It was all of us. And some had to make the ultimate sacrifice. I shake my head.
So must all in the name of the Empire, in the name of Sigma. But no, to the heroes of Middenheim! He raises his stick, and there is a tired repeating of his words. But it is repeated again and again. You hear it, Sifreda. You hear it, Heinrich. Despite your protestations, it is your names these people cheer, even the priest captain.
Let us not celebrate too early. We're still in the depths of enemy territory, and Sifreda is not well. So I will indulge the crowd they're cheering, and of course, Kruger, his moment. But I'm not so ready to turn this into a celebratory parade.
Of course, there are still several foes, several troubles, aren't there? You look around the cavern, and it's so much smaller than it was before. That's strange. Meanwhile, the priests of Sigmar and Jocelyn herself walk to the hammer. You see them considering it for a moment, and then Jocelyn says to you, Kruger, "Right, we must get the carrier ready. None of us are worthy to wield such a weapon. Only those chosen by Sigmar, and even I do not boast that honor. But I do believe there is nothing in the rules that says it cannot be carried by many." What do you say to that, Kruger? You admit, a minute ago, when you tried to lift the hammer, it did seem awfully heavy.
Yes. It is a very special item, that much is clear. And I don't mind. It's not mine. I have not done anything in particular to deserve to be the carrier of this. This is something that we all did together. So nod and say, yes, let us place it there then, and carry it together.
And with that, you are pushed aside just a little, as the priests, led by the captain, get out some wooden stakes and some ropes that they'd always been carrying on them. They form a sort of stretcher, and sort of form it as best they can underneath the hammer. With a grunt of exertion, 6 of them are able to lift it. It does seem as if its weight is less when carried, well, by a stretcher it seems. Although you wonder what they mean by none of you are worthy to wield it. Whatever. You have it, Kruger. Heinrich and Sifreda. Sifreda, you are being led, of course, by Heinrich to get out of here. And Heinrich, yes, you want to get out of here, but you need to scout, you need to plan. But it's very strange, because the tunnel doesn't branch off this time. It just goes straight ahead, and you find yourself in a smaller cave again. And there's a dried out area, as if there was once a river here, but no longer. And then you go beyond that and go through another small cave, and then you think you can hear the sounds of water and rain. That's impossible. You can't already be at the exit. What's happening here?
I couldn't possibly pretend to know, but if the path is limited, then we can only follow it in one direction. It's certainly possible that this hammer, this artifact, has made our path simpler, but those are miracles beyond my understanding.
Indeed. And so you emerge into the rain, outside the great waterfall. But something has changed. The waterfall is now flowing the correct way entirely. There is no more strange gravity here. It's also storming outside. Or it was storming. You're a boatman, Heinrich. You have a sense for weather. Was there a storm just now and it's just starting to clear up? You think there was. You see who you left behind, that small camp, looking a little soaked and a little bedraggled, as one of the doctors you left behind, simply says, "Oh! Already back? Good timing. The storm was mighty, but the camp was well situated. But, my goodness, the waters flew down in such a torrent we feared you'd all be drowned."
No such luck, I'm afraid. There's a cheeriness in my voice, reflecting the triumph of an easy journey return here, and, of course, our precious cargo.
Indeed. The others are behind you. You've seen this as well, Sifreda. And you as well, Kruger, that, yes, everything was quite simple. Except there was one thing that was odd. And you spotted it, Kruger, just as you were about to try and catch up with Sifreda and Heinrich. In one of the tunnels, just as on the way back, for a moment you could see on the ground an indentation. Footprints. 2 footprints, to be precise. From some sort of boot. And how strange, as you approach this area. Do you mention it to the others? Do you investigate yourself? It seems such a weird thing to see in the stone itself, these 2 footprints.
Well, point that out. This is strange.
Then, Sifreda, you've started trying to walk a little on your own, and you notice this as well. Heinrich, not so much. He's leading the forefront at this point. But yes, 2 footprints in the ground. What do you do?
Through these bleary eyes, do they look booted? Are they human? Are they animal? Are they beast?
No need to make a roll. They look human. Booted. An armoured boot. Quite a big one. And then I'd like you to roll a willpower check.
No, I don't do well. I've got another fortune, I'll spend it. 45 under 46.
You just succeed. The revulsion for a moment comes back. A voice at the back of your mind. Who cares about footprints? Who cares about this place? Who cares about the works of chaos and gods? They mean nothing to you. But at the same time, there's something that doesn't feel bad about these footprints. Something that makes you think, no, you have a choice here. You do not need to let these voices tell you what to do. You can stay if you wish. If you wish, but it is your choice.
I shake my head. I'm not going to be won over by this. It's too late. Too late in the day. I have Heinrich's arm to lean on. That's enough.
It is. And with that, you move away. Like you said, your gut instinct, you trust your gut instinct. Another trick, another trap, probably, and you're tired. Kruger, you see Sifreda just walk away, and then you look back and you just feel something about these footprints. For a moment you think you see an afterimage of someone in armor, holding a warhammer. They're bracing against something, and then it's gone. Who was that? Why were they standing here? What does this mean?
Was that Sigmar?
Could it have been? You suddenly are overcome with the urge to get down on your knees and pray. You do not have to do this, of course, but it is a strong urge.
Well, then I will. Sigmar was here, and I carried his hammer, at least for a little bit. I will do that. I will drop to my knees and I will pray to Sigmar. He is, after all, the one who has led us here and who has saved us. And thanks to that, we will be able to save the Empire.
Then you can heal 1 corruption. As you do this, you are joined by 1 or 2 other priests. And Captain Jocelyn briefly remarks, I can feel it as well. Yes. The forces of darkness hid this from us. But no, Sigmar came here. And Quintus Fassbinder remarks, Of course. I confess I have no idea why he left the hammer here. But I think I have a theory. Perhaps he knew one day it would be needed again, not by his hands, but by mortal hands, but did not wish for it to be... Well, I don't know. Maybe the enemy sought it as well. Found it somehow. And here they hid it. For thousands of years. In their darkness, in their sin, in their depravity. But you see, they could never truly touch it, never truly destroy it. No, merely keep it hidden. To be found by us. Praise Sigmar. And all the other priests say praise Sigmar as well. As you feel, yes, this is the truth, Kruger. It must be.
Yes. And it's a good feeling.
And so, your party emerge into the light as the rain from the storm begins to cease. There is some confusion by those you left behind. The mighty storm raged down the gorge, they say, but it was also quite quick, only 10 minutes or so, and they're surprised you made it back so quickly. You all know this adventure did not take 10 minutes. You were in there for hours at least. But what does it matter? You are triumphant. You are victorious. There are cheers being made in the camp. The Warhammer of Galmaraz returned. All that must done now is you must get back to Altdorf and present it to the Emperor. Or the Emperor-to-be. You do notice Heinrich Schilf, that to the side. Carol, Egan, the priestesses, with some of the others. The corpses cannot be recovered, it seems. Even those ones you thought you saw fall, you noticed were no longer there when you went to look for them. But she's lit a candle, and is intoning some prayers to the fallen. You notice Bertha standing with them. She is not weeping uncontrollably, but she is teary. What do you do, Heinrich?
We'll have to part ways with Sifreda for only a moment, but before doing so, give that kind of firm, friendly squeeze that says, I'm not going to be that far. And then, yes, it's important I check up on, I guess, my subordinates.
Bertha, of course, is fine, it seems. Emmeline, not so much. And as you go over, Bertha looks at you and tries to hold back a tear, looking stoic. I shall miss talking to Emmeline. I'll miss trying to teach them some of the words they never could quite grasp from the texts. They were always the brave one, Inquisitor, not me.
I don't know that you can say that. Having been through what you've been through and done what you've done. We will mourn our comrade, but don't forget for a moment to be grateful for the things that you did accomplish. Know that she gave her life for Sigmar and the Empire. And there's no finer way for those of our order to pass on from this world.
She wipes the tear away and nods. Is that truly how you feel, Heinrich? Brave Emmeline, gone. But you had to make a choice. You had to.
And I made the best choice I could, given the information I have at hand. I suppose an earlier version of Heinrich would feel more anything, I suppose. But, and Sifreda mentioned this earlier, we've seen all manner of tragedies. And this is the latest on a list, but I suppose my heart has been hardened. There's a lot that I left behind from the coach and on the road.
Sifreda, you are given some water by Leah. You're given somewhere to sit that isn't too damp. It does seem as if a great storm has swept through this place. The waterfall suddenly is no longer as powerful as it once was, and you think you can see, it looks like some sort of detritus just floating in the water nearby. You look to the priest of Shalia, giving her a little remembrance speech. You look at your medics. Surprisingly, only a bit battered, other than, of course, poor Oleg. And you feel not better, but maybe not as bad. What are you doing?
I, probably to her surprise, give Leah a very tight and emotional hug, realizing for the first time that she made it out.
She did. Her eyes are bloodshot, and she looks very tired, but she did make it out, and as you hug her, she stiffens only for a moment, and hugs you back. Thank you, my lady.
Oh, Leah, at this point, just please call me Sifreda.
You are the strangest noble I've ever known, Sifreda. All right, then.
There's not much noble about me. Leah, I think I can tell you that the both of us have emerged from similar circumstances, a similar situation, while the road could have gone a lot worse for me. You ought never lie about who you are.
Why, of course not. Why would anyone ever do that?
Well, that's a good question.
And as you look over the camp, and the tired, the fatigued, but also this sense of some form of achievement, could you make an intuition roll? You can give yourself a +20 due to your current state.
A flat 50 out of 61.
Successful enough. Something is bugging you. And no, it's not the obvious, it's not how you feel, but more logical. Something's off, but you're not sure what it could be. You've won, you've succeeded, at least this far. But something about everything suddenly in your logical mind is bugging you. Why? What did the mine mean? Why was there a shrine there? Why? Everything that just happened to you. It was a wonderful story from a storybook, but that's not how things really work. How did you survive? You shouldn't have been able to survive that. And why were there all those silly rooms and riddles and all the taunting? And where is that tormentor of yours? You're not quite sure which of these things is bugging you, but something is bugging you.
It's all too much and I can't stop myself from crying. I'm not going to be racked with heaving sobs, but I'm not going to be able to stop crying. It always feels like we never win, like we're always so close, but we just cannot do it. And yeah, I know that what we fought were just pests, servants of something far worse. I know that the true masterminds, gods, and other creatures are still out there, treating us like puppets and playthings. And it's soul-destroying. Right now I can't take solace in the victory that we have achieved.
Kruger Hoffman, you look about the camp and you want to check on Heinrich, and Heinrich seems he's doing something with the priests and the remembrance, and you go to see Sifreda, and you just see in that little tent, you can hear, in fact, her weeping. What do? Why is she weeping? You've won. You're doing your duty. All that remains is to get back to Altdorf. And well, how hard could that be?
Yes. How hard could it be? I'll carefully look inside. Are you alright, Sifreda?
Ah, Sigmar, I say.
No, not quite. We won. There's nothing to be sad about. It's over.
Are you feeling better? Have the ideas in your head, the flashes of panic, have they faded with this victory?
Truth be told, Kruger, a little. But deep down, there is still some corruption even in you.
You know, I think they have. At least At least partially. It feels better. It's like part of that weight is gone. There's still something remaining, but it's lighter. A lighter load.
Well, in that case, I will wipe these ridiculous tears off my cheeks, making quite a pattern in the blood that's caking my face, I'm sure. Making me look like an orc ready for war. And I will say that this is a victory for us, at least, and we will mourn the fallen. I am so very happy for you, Kruger, that it was you. No one was more deserving after everything you've been through. I am only weeping because sometimes, and you know how these dark moods afflict me, sometimes it feels hopeless, but I need to be buoyant, because you're right, we survived, we did what we sought to do.
Yes, this was our victory. Now we just have to make it a victory for the rest of the people of the Empire, that's all.
Yes, only that. Who would have thought that such a heavy weight would be laid upon the shoulders of we three?
Yeah. We've come far.
We have. After that carriage ride long, long ago, being forced to sit on the roof because we didn't have the money to sit within.
Yes. Feels like a different world. I think we're probably not the same as we were.
No, I think that the world has changed for us. Imagine the pleasant ignorance of being someone utterly oblivious to all this.
Part of me does miss that. That Kruger who just was looking for a quick bit of money. But I'm glad he's gone.
You're happy?
I am. At least for right now.
Well, then I am happy. I think we should go back to the city. I will find a freshwater creek. I will bathe. Get this noxious blood off of my skin and clothes. We will get to the city. I will have a drink, maybe more than one. And I will try and find an elf practicing archery.
That sounds like a plan.
Heinrich, you come upon this scene, looking for your friends and seeing them deep in conversation. What do you do?
Well, I can't be deep in conversation without me. Who will add the spice and the flavor? So there's a hearty pat on the back for each of them, the kind of glorious and triumphant warrior's greeting. Hopefully we're not being too morose in our moment of triumph. Hopefully this isn't one of those moments where you're all so deep in the past that you can't appreciate the present or the future.
No. It's a happy moment. For all of us.
Indeed. I was briefly caught up in trivial thinking.
Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of time for all the trivial thinking. Our new friend here, the wielder of Galmaraz, is going to be fairly busy. It's going to be just the two of us.
You planning on striding into the city and having yourself declared an emperor or a god, Kruger?
Granted, Kruger, considering you can't even lift it, you're not entirely sure how you're going to go about wielding this Warhammer.
Yeah, it was quite heavy. I'm not sure that I'm going to be wielding it anytime soon. But at least it will be returned to its home, to where it's supposed to be. And perhaps that will get everyone to, well, be a little bit less angry. Perhaps it will even remove some of that miasma. One can hope.
Well, if not emperor, surely there's a special dispensation for the person who returns the hammer to the emperor. Just don't forget who your friends are.
We'll do it together.
And as the conversation flows to more positive things, then Sifreda, it is your choice. Will you just keep those doubts to yourself? Dismiss them? Those thoughts about some of the oddities of what's happened? Or will you mention it to your friends just in case?
Seeing how jubilant the two of them seem, and I'm not an idiot, I have no doubt Kruger is donning a smile and being optimistic because he doesn't want to see me down, and Heinrich has already seen me in despair as well. I am beginning to feel very self-conscious about how weak I have shown myself to be. Ridiculous to even contemplate it. At this point, no. Maybe after drinks, once we're wrapped up and comfortable and able to talk about this, there's nothing we can do here. There's nothing we can do now about that. Yes, the great enemy is still outside and no doubt within, but what can we do now except look after ourselves and the survivors of this mission, this quest?
Indeed. And so you gather your things and mount up as best you can, ready to go through the pass once more. 4 more days pass. Around the 2nd day you are, again, perhaps a little anxious, Kruger. Will the night goblins strike? Will the deal no longer be done? But you're surprised to find that when you reach their territory, it seems a great many of their bridges have been destroyed, swept away, and you even, with the hounds, thanks to old Albin, find a few corpses, drowned. Granted, only a dozen or so. You do not believe the Magcraw clan were totally swept away by the sudden deluge of water, but it does seem to have damaged their holdings a little. And as you pass through that area, there are no tricks, no traps. How does that make you feel, Kruger?
It all keeps going our way. Perhaps Sigmar truly is... Well, of course he is. He is looking out for us.
Even better, Heinrich Schilf, for when you reach the end of your journey at the mine itself, the mine is gone as well. Granted, with a bit of consultation with Barak and some of the others and your own knowledge of geology, it's not gone, but it seems that this great deluge of water has smashed through the rubble. The mine has been sort of swept away. There's evidence everywhere of debris, still debris, but now you can just kind of climb over the debris and it seems to take you to the exits. You don't even need to go through that mine again. The mine literally no longer exists. How does that make you feel, Heinrich Schilf?
I'm certain there's a scholar somewhere who can explain why this has all happened, or perhaps our own archivist is busy having those thoughts. But those are the kind of texts that I will be spending the rest of my days looking to destroy. Understanding these things, it opens your mind to them. And that's not a road that I want to go down.
And finally, Sifreda, you find yourself back in Blackfire Pass, making your way through the sites you saw before. There are no ambushes, no enemies, no obstacles. You pass by the boundaries, you pass by the Great Wall, and you're back in the Empire. Averheim, the lands of Averland stretching out before you, and the pass behind you. Everyone is tired, your rations are running low now, but everyone is marching onwards. It has been discussed with all the other leaders that it is best that you do everything you can to head back home as swift as possible. You will not camp, you will not break. As much as possible, you will ride through the night when you get your horses back and try and get back as quickly as you can. How are you feeling? Those great mountains now behind you. No obstacles, no more dangers.
Every time I leave the city, I never think that I'm going to look forward to returning, and yet, as we leave the mountains behind us, I cannot wait to be back within that surgery. To see the same thieves operating on the street corners, to get a picture of warm and dubious nut brown ale. Right now, I just want civilization.
And onwards you march through the towns, collecting your horses again, of course, and then riding swiftly back to Averheim, back to your boat, back to the rivers, and then back to Altdorf. No troubles, no problems. The only unusual thing, as the days pass on the way to Averheim at least, is that sometimes above the city of Averheim, at night, when you're on watch, you, Kruger, and you, Heinrich, occasionally see a strange something in the sky. Like a strange shimmering. Or sometimes there's lightning. Apparently, The camp is mixed on this when you ask them about it. Some say it's a bit of a strange omen, but Critters Fastbinder reassures everyone that warp storms and the winds of magic, well, they're not that common in this part of the Empire, but they do happen. And maybe it's a sign that the forces of chaos are weakening, a sign of your victory. What do you think, Kruger? It's not every night, just every now and then. And one night, through a telescope, you think you see it above the city of Nuln as well. How strange.
Yes. Perhaps it is a sign of what we did. Perhaps it is Sigmar's work. I hope so. I truly hope that there is nothing more sinister in motion. I hope that this is the last challenge that we have to face.
You do indeed. As the days pass, you get closer to the city of Everheim. One more boat journey, and then finally you'll return home. And perhaps this will all come to an end. Perhaps.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this final part of the series, we are tackling Empire in Ruins. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Dick Thomson, Lily, Maciej, Black Templar, Dennis Sadecki, and Leonhardt for their generous support. We would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to our Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay bonus campaign, Rough Nights and Hard Days, as well as bonus campaigns for Warhammer 40k Imperium Maledictum, Cult of Indeed Lost, and Call of Cthulhu there. On top of that, we also offer early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play some Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real, and even if they were, the Emperor has already dealt with that threat long ago.